What's up, guys? I'm Coach Sean, and I'm here to show you how to take your favorite recipes and make them just a little bit healthier. Today, I'm gonna show you how to smoke dry rub ribs. The reason I love these ribs is because they're easier, they're healthier, but they're still packed with so much flavor. You're not gonna wanna miss it. This is Coach Sean's Kitchen. So I coach a lot of people one-on-one in nutrition, and one of the goals that I try to accomplish is teaching them how to take their favorite foods and create healthier versions of them so that they can still enjoy them while eating a healthier diet. When you traditionally think of ribs from a barbecue joint, you think fatty, sugary, sticky ribs. Delicious, but there's no way that you can eat those every day. My goal in this video is to teach you a healthier way to barbecue ribs. By utilizing a dry rub and cooking them in a Memphis style, you can make a lot healthier version of ribs, and I'll even show you how to work this into your meal plan so that you can enjoy this throughout the week. So let's get down to it and begin by prepping our ribs. We've got 2 racks here of St. Louis style ribs, and there's really only one optional step that you need to do to prep your ribs before you start seasoning, and that is to remove the membrane from the back. I like to use a paper towel because it is slippery to get a little bit of a grip before I pull it off. Now, if you leave it on, this stuff does not render, so it's just gonna be a little bit tougher in the end. And if you come across any straggly bits on the end that are just gonna burn off in the cook, go ahead and just cut them off and set them aside. Now, let's get on to seasoning. Before I add any seasoning to the outside of these ribs, I'm gonna begin with a binder. I'm using yellow mustard, the tried and true barbecue Asian. So I'm rubbing a thin layer on the outside. Now I'm ready to start applying my seasoning. The first thing I'm gonna do is apply a base layer of kosher salt. And that's because I've tasted the 2 rubs I'm using today and they're not too salty. So make sure you taste the rubs that you're using and adjust if you need to. Once you've got a layer of salt on the outside, begin building your layers of flavor. I'm starting with that Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse rub. If you're a fan of this channel, you know I have fallen in love with this seasoning. It has next to no added calories, and it adds a wonderful buttery touch to whatever meat you're smoking. Once I've got a good layer of the Kinder seasoning on the outside, I'm gonna move on to my next seasoning, Malcolm Reed's The BBQ Rub. This rub is pretty cool to me. I learned so much on how to barbecue from following Malcolm Reed's channel, How to Barbecue Right, when it first started launching on YouTube freaking 10 years ago. Now I'm seeing his rubs in nearly every store that I go to. If you ever see them, I highly recommend you give it a shot. I also recommend you check out his channel. Once I'm done seasoning my ribs, I'm gonna let them hang out on my counter for a good 15 minutes to let that seasoning tack up while I fire up my Traeger. We're outside on a beautiful sunny day. God, I love barbecue season. I got my Traeger running at 275 degrees full of cherry pellets. This is one of the reasons I love barbecuing for my meal prep. It's so simple. I'm gonna lay the rack down on the pit, make sure it looks nice because however you lay it is how it's going to cook, and then I'm gonna shut it and I'm not looking at it for 2 hours. After those 2 hours are up, I'm gonna go ahead and check my ribs for the first time. And as you can see, the outside has some great color and it's starting to get a little dry on the outside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to spritz them with some water. Now, water does a wonderful thing on barbecue. It's gonna help with the formation of bark, and it's also going to help develop a smoke ring on my ribs. Smokiness and crispy bark are 2 of my favorite parts of barbecue, so this is a step I cannot skip. Now, if you have a water pan in your smoker, you might have enough moisture in the air that this step may not be needed for you. So feel free to experiment what works for you, your taste, your meat, your pit. Now, after that spray, I'm gonna come back and check my ribs every 45 minutes until they're done cooking. And I'm gonna spritz them if they're looking a little dry. Now, as far as knowing when to pull your ribs, I'm looking for 2 things primarily. First, when I insert my probe thermometer, it should be incredibly tender, like a hot knife going through butter. This normally happens at about 200 to 205 degrees, and that's the second thing I'm looking for, that they're temping in the right place. Once you've achieved both of these ribs are good to pull, so let's get them off the Traeger and let's get them resting. Now, the verdict on these dry rub ribs, freaking delicious. As I mentioned earlier, I love the bark, I love the smoky ring. These eat so much like a chicken wing. I love this style of ribs. I'll say even more than the traditional wrapped 3-2-1 ribs. You can see I'm still pulling meat right off the bone. There's a beautiful smoke ring, incredibly tender. We did a great job barbecuing these guys. As far as how I like to store these once I'm done cooking it, I like to leave 1 rack of ribs on the bone to just enjoy when I'm home alone. But on the other rack of ribs, I will actually pull all the meat off of the bone. I'll remove the cartilage, and I'll even give it a rough chop so I got a consistent texture. It allows me to easily pull it out of the fridge and weigh it when I'm counting my macros. But also, with the meat already being pulled, it's a lot easier to eat if I'm on the go or at work. But hey, the best barbecue is the barbecue you enjoy eating, so cook it and serve it how you like. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Are you willing to try the dry rub and give it a shot? If you do, let me know how it turns out. And be sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you enjoy Coach Sean's Kitchen. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode, and as always, you can make anything homemade and healthy.